Hold on. Yes, now tell us about your surgery, your heart surgery.
Okay, so we went in. So here, I think you left when she came in, right?
Mm-hmm.
To dress me?
Yeah.
I got some real interesting shaved spots, that's for sure.
Oh, do I win money on that one?
I got my. She started with the tops of my shoulders and shaved them down, and then she put a pile of stickers on my tummy and had some pads. She shaved my shoulders, then she shaved some areas on my chest. She shaved my left leg a little bit, and then she shaved parts of my crotch and some of my tummy. I think, remember it right. Maybe my right leg too, but I don't remember. And she just started sticking stickers everywhere. I had like 4 shoulder pads on either side. I had a bunch on my chest. I had a big pad, like 4 iPhones, like like 3 iPhones or something stacked that big. It's like right here. And then
actual iPhones or iPhone-like things?
You took the phone that you've got right there and put 3 on top of it in the same orientation. 4 inches by 8 inches or something.
A device.
It's a big pad. No, a flat pad, real flat. Right here, and then another one on my leg down here. Just a bunch of stickers. And then, I'll get there.
Like that?
Well,
yeah, sort of like that, only not the guy on the left.
Okay. Enough about the pad.
And, Tina's, brother-in-law was thinking about going into IT, so I talked to her about that some.
The family one with that.
Yeah. Tina's my nurse.
He survived.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, won.
All right.
Good.
Feels good.
What's that? Feel good?
Yeah.
He's not going to. He's going to spend 3 hours telling us about it till he gets to the end. He'll tell us about the end.
Well, it's very hard to hold the catheter where it needed to be. It was about half a centimeter away.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're liking this now.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to wait a little bit.
Yeah,
I'll see you back in
4
4 weeks.
Yeah.
And if your delta wave stays away, then you'll be fixed. I won't see it again. Okay?
Yeah.
Small chance of this could recur, so we have to make sure you're good.
Right, and then back here again. Another one.
What's that? Yeah, if we had to, yeah.
Well,
But we know where to go.
How would you know if it recurred?
Is EKG.
So it'll be black and white, right?
I mean, it's pretty clear. Yeah, plus you'll probably have recurrences. So the hope is we won't.
So he won't have any of those symptoms at all. You should.
Remember our first conversation where he was like, and if we find it and we're confident, I'll just, he was like, I'll buzz it and I'll sit on it and we'll just go. There was at least 4.5 minutes or something, just sitting there with the ice on it.
They got it.
So,
Yep. The minute we saw it go away, then we just sit on it.
and when I think I may have felt that, because you were counting off, like, I want at least 4 minutes, and then you had my heart going crazy.
Well,
And then it went thumping and then it just stopped doing that.
Correct. Well, the minute we were pacing your heart just a little faster than you were going in your tachycardia. And then once the ice ball formed and the catheter was held and stuck there, then we stopped pacing.
So that was you stopping pacing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at that point, then we could see that your pathway was gone. But the thing was still...
Yeah, I was curious if it was that... If it was... Because my heart was going crazy, and then it just stopped, and there were like 3 big beats, and then it was normal beating from then on, and I was wondering if that was the freezing.
We had already applied the freezing, and the ice ball was already
the freezing working. But it sounds like it's not.
No,
you guys turned off
we wanted to make sure that the catheter didn't move while the ice ball was forming. See, I have to get that thing to not move long enough until, and then once it freezes, it sticks to the annulus, and it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
I mean it's frozen there. It's kind of like dry ice, sticking your tongue to a piece of dry ice. Okay, it's not going to move. And then, but the minute we come off that catheter, your body warms right back up, and then it dislodges.
So you only had one loop?
That's it, one short circuit.
For both the WPW symptoms and all the other arrhythmia symptoms.
Yeah, well, he has some skipped heartbeats too that probably were the things that started up. He didn't really feel those for the most part. It's this short circuit that was causing it. Because his heart rate, just so you know, his heart rate was going 220 beats a minute laying down. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, on the drum.
Yeah.
Wow. It rocks.
So you were you kept saying, it seemed like you were saying two different kinds of things. Where they're different, you're like, pace him, and that meant the atrium, and then you were like...
Yeah, I would get your tachycardia going, put you in the rhythm, and then as you were in the rhythm, I was mapping.
That's when I was 220.
Because then what happens, what happens then is it's going down the normal conduction system, back up your short circuit. Mm-hmm. So I can differentiate which limb of the circuit I'm looking at.
Yeah.
When you're not in the tachycardia, you could be fusing down both pathways, down your normal conduction and down the short circuit. Mm-hmm. So it's harder to map, to differentiate which one you're looking at.
Yeah.
So what I did is I put you in tachycardia. That does two things. One, at a heart rate of 220, your heart doesn't move as much. Mm-hmm. When your heart's real slow, it makes a lot of movement. So it's harder to hold the catheter still on the wall.
Yeah, I remember you figuring that out.
Yeah, once I figured that out.
Too bad, but
yeah, no, it's bad for you. Good for me. Yeah. Well, I've done a few of these, so it's kind of you learn those tricks after a while. So yeah, it went real well.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll get you upstairs in a bit, and hopefully out of here by 7:30. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much again.
Okay.
You want the rest of my story?
Do you want me to start over? I've been rolling this whole time.
And then I'm going to start
I want
calling
to hear
people.
what the 220 felt.
Let's get any good parts of the story.
I'm going to the bathroom and calling people.
Well, we got a video for you, so you can watch it anytime.
I guess you'll have it on YouTube, on the YouTubes. Yes, it's rolling.
Okay,
6 minutes in. Keep
They
going.
wheel me in, and it's really right on the other side of that hallway. You come in and you take a right, and then you start seeing signs for like scrubs only, and there's a big sink, and so she washed her hands, and then she put on her hairnet. So then we went in, and they wheeled me into this room, and I was funny, I guessed it right about the monitors. There were 6 monitors connected to this thing hanging from the ceiling, and then a 7th one on top of it. They had 3 X-ray machines that were just hovering like right in my face. They plugged in some stuff, and then they strapped my arms down to the side of the board.
That's a little
I
scary.
couldn't move. It was weird. And then they put an automatic blood pressure tape.
They were like making Frankenstein's monster, it sounds like.
Yeah. Then they started rolling up clothes and stuff, and it was funny when they shaved my crotch area. She gave me a little modesty strip of cloth. So it's like just lightly
So did they
draped
tell you they were going to
over.
put you under, or they said, no, we're just going to...
No, I
give you
actually
some-
asked Tina, when do I go under? And she's like, oh, you won't go under. They're going to give you topical, but you'll be awake.
Oh, great.
Really? But, so I went in there and they gave me some real light sedation. And I was, I felt good. And I think I may have, passed out just, a little bit at the start. But a lot of the start was, they put 2 holes in me, I guess they put tubes, and then they start fishing stuff in through the tubes, and you feel that stuff go up.
Oh,
You don't feel it exactly trace, but you're like, that's a strange feeling by my kidney, which I can never usually feel, and that's another strange feeling in my chest. You
That's
might move,
scary.
and then you feel a difference in your body. And I have it feels like my back is sore in my kidney area, and I asked about it, and I didn't know what he'd say, and he goes, yeah, that's normal. There's a lot of weight in your pelvis right now. I still don't know what that would mean, because the catheters don't seem heavy, so I don't know.
But wait, yeah, I don't know.
But anyways, then another thing they did is they put this huge pad of adhesive stuff on my, basically a tarp that's one side of adhesive, and then you had to adjust it so to pull it up.
To rip it up.
Boob tear and
Oh,
stuff.
man.
And then he had to tuck it back into the crotch area. And I'm ooh, that's good. Because he tucked it in.
And then
they
adjusted.
And then they started taking, then they started putting shots in, and that was a local anesthetic.
So they just had to weigh you down? So you didn't move?
I don't know what the
I think
weighing
that's what it was.
So you, yeah.
No?
I didn't feel like that happened, but then
Primary doc.
Oh, Dr. John P. Soren at he's at Northwestern. Is that a familiar name?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure is. Okay.
So then after they put all that stuff down, they must have had something that they opened up, and they put some tubes in. I think that's when I probably was a little bit out, wasn't paying as much attention. I could see the monitor where the tubes were. And the monitors, there were 2 monitors in the middle that showed these tubes. They're just kind of up. It was almost like a plant that didn't have leaves on it. It just had 3 branches that came up, and one of them kind of curved, and one of them went straight up, and you could tell it was resting against the top of my atrium. But on the monitor, you can't see. It looks like an X-ray because you can't see like the actual walls of your heart. You just see like fading grayness, but the catheters are real bright. So he knows by, first of all, you can see it kind of go like it. You can see one that's going up, and he's like, that's one that's going through into a vein. Mm-hmm. He's like, this one that's curving is resting against the top of the atrium. You know, and he said that he can tell where they are based on the EKGs, because the two monitors to the left are just simultaneous EKGs going. There's like 20 of them or something. So he can tell where things are electrically. And then there's one catheter that's one of 4. That was the one that he was guiding a lot to see where it was. And so after like a couple minutes, he starts talking to the guy. There's a guy in some control room. So he's talking. And the guy in the control room is responding with numbers and stuff.
Are the hiccups?
Yeah, just a second. So he's responding with numbers. So he's saying a lot of the process wasn't, it was jargon, but it wasn't stuff that was that confusing. He's saying stuff like, I'm going to start a tachycardia, give me 220, 40, you know, and then my heart would feel different. And he'd be like, bring it down like to 80 or something, or to 240, or to this or that. And he'd give that, throw out numbers. And as he said numbers.
I feel like sick thinking about this stuff.
And so he would say numbers.
Can you hold this?
Yeah.
Are you really getting sick?
There's a chair, Sarah. You want a chair? We'll sit there.
Think about stuff in your veins, sweetie.
All right, so then so they're saying like, you know, let's see 220, let's see 240, and then they'll go a second, and they gave me adrenaline.
Poor Sarah.
So the adrenaline gets my heart beating really fast. So I'm like laying down there, and my breathing is still normal, but my heart rate is pretty high. And then he starts doing the tachycardia, and then it almost feels like your heart rate disappears, but it's like fluttering. And then it's like he says a couple numbers, and then it's like your heart rate is just rocketing. It's like, and if you feel it, and you don't like feel lightheaded, but it's really uncomfortable. You know, your heart rate is racing, and I'm just like, you know, and then I'll tell him to stop, and then it'll be normal. It'll say, you know, pace it, and then it'll go up, and then it'll say stop, and then my heart will do these things. It'll just be like this huge heartbeats, thump, 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 and then it would be normal. And then he'd be like, okay, bring an atrial this or this, blah, 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 blah. And then it's going, blah, 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 and then it goes, thump, 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 and he goes, all right, that's AFib, stop it. And then he's like, okay, let's see another tachycardia. Let's get this. There seemed to be 2 or 3 different kinds. I don't know, maybe it was just one, but it seemed like he'd say something, and then it would feel one way, and he'd say something else, and it would feel the same, and then he'd say something else, and it would feel different, but still really racing. And then sometimes it'd be racing, and he'd say, now add the atrial disc. And then it would be like, really just another totally weird feeling. And so he did that for a little while. It seemed like he was testing. I asked him at one point, he's like, yeah, well, what we're doing now, we're just looking around, but I just need you to stop talking. I was doing a lot of talking. Not too.
Babe.
I don't know. It wasn't too
much.
much.
Put you out.
So then he did some other stuff, and then they got the cryo ready, and they started saying things. Tina went over to the cryo and was like, he would say, he'd say go, and then she'd say okay, and then she'd start naming the temperatures, and she'd go -1, -7, -15, or -15. No, I don't know, probably Fahrenheit, but maybe centigrade. I don't know. So 16, 25, 35, 50, 65, 72.
So that's when they found
72, 72. Yeah, she'd go to like 72, and then after a few seconds, he'd say stop, and then she'd say, okay, 72 for 6 seconds. So real short increments. So then he would try something else, and then real short increments. Okay. I'm guessing that this was have I found it yet? I froze it a little bit to change behavior. You know, because then so she would do that while he was poking around, and then he'd stop her, and then he'd do something else, he'd move it, and I could see the monitor, I could see the catheters moving just like a little bit. I really couldn't see it clearly, so I couldn't tell for sure. But he's talking to the guy, Kevin, up in the control room a little bit. So they did that for a while, and then he mentioned that he was having trouble seeing heart keeping the heart still enough. So the heart, when it's beating, is going, doom, doom, doom. So all that was when my heart was pretty normal. Then he started saying, let's get the tachycardia going, and then I'll do the cryo. So I'd have the tachycardia going for like 4 or 5 straight minutes. Where I'm just like, it's I don't know, but if it cured my thing, then it's fine. Oh yeah, they did. They put a tube around and I had the thing. But it was. You're reminding yourself that they
Your
really
heart
do seem to have
hands.
total control of your heart.
Yeah.
Because he says something and it stops, and then he says do this and it starts doing a different thing. And he says nah, a little more, and he says now stop. Yeah, it's total control.
Amazing.
So this is really neat for me because now, like, I could be running around and I would get one and I'll remember this is what that was like, Because the tachycardia is a weird enough experience, but I think most people have basically felt their heart rate when they're resting, their heart rate when they're running, and then occasionally maybe people feel
anxious
skip beats.
or something, yeah.
Yeah, but tachycardia is a weird feeling. And then I went in there, I was like going to a zoo of tachycardias, and like, here's the atrial tachycardia area. Here's AFib, and it was just like really strange. But for a good hour, it was really uncomfortable. They're doing the tachycardia and they stop and they do it and you let it go for like 5 or 6 minutes.
They want you for that.
They said that if I was sedated, it would get in the way. It would get in the way of triggering the stuff.
Yeah, because then his whole system is slow and yeah.
And maybe they could have, but at the same time, it was uncomfortable. I didn't want to complain. He really did seem like he was on a roll.
Yeah.
Because he was saying stuff like, "Okay, we'll try this. Okay, move here, and he's like, "Okay, cryo, you ready? Okay, on." And then he'd do this, and he'd talk to Kevin, and he'd say, "Cryo, keep it on, cryo on," and then. Like, okay, cryo, turn it off. No, they didn't use the RF.
They froze it out.
So they did like like an hour's worth of those cycles, and then one of them went where he said, okay, keep it on, and he could tell he gave Tina little attention. He would just say, turn cryo on, and then he would say, temperature off. That would be about the pattern. But then he's like, okay, turn cryo on, keep it on. Cryo on. And be like, Kevin, I need this. Cryo on. Kevin, how about 440? On. Cryo on. I want at least 4 minutes of cryo. Keep it on. And then he'd say other stuff. And then, so we were just sitting there for 4 minutes.
Oh, my God.
But, I thought, she said, the Tina said that I might feel the freezing. I didn't feel the freezing. I did feel stuff in my chest. But I didn't feel like...
Because I don't think there's any nerve endings in your heart.
There must... Yeah, there's probably... there's definitely an answer to that question. No. I don't know it. But there was some kind of pressure or something where I could feel a difference between... That there was... Especially when I moved, I felt like... Which I didn't move very... There was a long time where I was just totally still. So after that 4-minute one, he's like, okay, stop. And then he was like, all right, let's give this a half an hour. I think it's good, and... He came over. I couldn't see him the whole time, and he came around the machine.
And he froze it for half an hour?
No. They stopped.
Oh, okay.
And he came around. He gave me thumbs up, and he's like, "I think it worked. That's good." But there was a fun. Oh, before he came over to give me thumbs up, he did the cryo. They stopped after 4.5 minutes. He did a couple more things, and he's like, "Okay, Kevin, 240," and then
take it up a notch.
Well, I don't know if it was up or down. I think I heard 240 earlier. So and 240 might not have actually been the number he said. He said that, and then, so it went like that for a while.
Your camera, you out your camera.
She was getting nauseous thinking of it.
I don't like to think about stuff in your veins.
So it was going for like 240, and it felt like a normal heartbeat, and he's like, okay, 220, and then it felt normal, but high, and then he's like, all right, 210. 200. He did that a couple times for about a minute, and then at the end he was like, all right, there we go. So it seemed like he took off, and then I was like, can I do anything, like move my arms or anything? And so Tina actually gave me a little back rub, or shoulder rub for a while. It was very nice. Mm-hmm. And after like 5 or 10 minutes of just sitting there, what's so funny?
I want a copy of this, right? So if somebody says, what do you do at work? And you can just here it is.
So,
they said they want a copy.
Cool. So he must have gone up to the control room because I'm sitting there for like 10 minutes, and I just at one point I asked if the X-ray machines were off, and they're like, "Yeah, having trouble there, Pop?"
Oh, we have a slight interruption. I called Joyce, Bobby, Darlene.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
these people are sitting around waiting on pins and needles.
I got.
Or Darlene or Aaron.
I'm gonna email Joy.
And I told, left a message for Jimmy, and I called Mike.
Cool. Okay, so they did that. The X-rays off, and after a little while, I'm like, "So is there stuff in me or something?" Or I said something like, "That feels weird," and then from the speaker, it was like, "We are in control." Or something. I'm like, and he's like, "We've got it. We're just doing this thing, trying to trip the tachycardia. We got it. That's fine." He's like, "And this coming up, this will also feel weird." And then at one point he was like, "Yeah, we're going to actually run